Okay, so absolute value. So if we go back to the basics of absolute value, absolute value is the distance a number is from 0. Now, there's this ongoing debate / confusion. It's easy to tell ourselves that absolute value is positive, right? The absolute value of 10 is 10. The absolute value of -8 is 8. The absolute value of 4.5 is 4.5. But it's distance, right? And distance is not positive or negative. Distance is distance, right? There's no such thing as negative distance. We cannot time travel yet, right? But we have distance. It's the distance something is from 0. So the really mind-blowing thing that we learn right now is that for every answer to absolute value, there are 2 problems. If the answer to an absolute value problem is 10, there are 2 ways to get an answer of 10. I could do the absolute value of 10, or I could do the absolute value of -10. Right? So if I want it to equal 10, there are 2 ways to get there. I could do the absolute value of 10 equals 10, or I could do the absolute value of -10 and have it equal 10, correct? For every absolute value, I have 2 ways of getting there. So what that means is I have to solve absolute value equations twice. So this roundabout way of saying, well, Mrs. Long, if I want 10 as my answer, there are 2 ways to get there, +10 and -10. So that means I need to solve each ab-val, right, absolute value, twice. Because I want what goes inside this equation to either have a positive solution, or I want what goes inside this equation to have a negative solution. Because +10 is 10, and -10 has an absolute value of 10. So I need to solve my equations twice. Once for the positive value, and once for the negative value. So, for example, we're going to do a really easy one first. If I had a problem that said the absolute value of 2x is equal to 30, but I wanted to know what does x equal. If my problem just said 2x equals 30, I could do it, right? But I know that this answer inside here, 2x, that needs to have a positive answer and it needs to have a negative answer. So I need 2x to equal positive 30 in there. And I need 2x to equal negative 30. Because if 2x equals positive, if I take this out and I make it positive 30, I'll get an absolute value of 30. And if I take this out and I substitute negative 30, I'll get an absolute value of positive 30, right? So we need to solve. There are two values of x that would work. And then I solve. X equals 15. And over here, negative 15. Now, it's not always going to match. In easy problems, they do. But my x answer, if I substituted the value of 15 in for x, I would get an absolute value of 30. And if I substituted negative 15 in for x, I could also get an absolute value of positive 30. So then, this is an easy one, right? Now I'm going to go a little bit harder. But we want to do, what I want to talk about is I want to isolate the absolute value. If you're given a little bit harder of a problem, we want to make sure that the absolute value is isolated. So like, let's do the absolute value of x plus 1, 1, minus 7 equals 30. The absolute value of x plus 1 minus 7 equals 30. So before I solve twice, I need to get the absolute value alone. So what should I do first? What do I do to get the absolute value all alone? Reagan? Yeah. I'm going to add 7 to both sides. And now that my absolute value is now alone, I can solve twice. Now that I have my absolute value isolated, I can solve twice. X plus 1 equals 37, because I want this value to be 37 to get an absolute value of 37. Or x plus 1 equals negative 37. Because the absolute value in here, the absolute value of negative 37 will give a solution of 37. So my first x value is, what? 36. I thought I heard 45. What? I don't know. That's why I said what. And what's my next x value? Negative 38. Remember, they're not always going to match. Because if I substitute 36 in for x, 36 plus 1 is 37, and the absolute value of 37 is 37, minus 7 makes 30. If I substitute negative 38 in for x, negative 38 plus 1 is negative 37. The absolute value of negative 37 is 37. Minus 7 is 30. Absolute value. You have to solve it twice, because an absolute value, there are two ways of getting that absolute value answer. Let's practice. Let's do the absolute value of negative 5b plus 5 equals 35. There's one. So my question is the absolute value isolated? Yes. There's nothing with it. There's stuff inside of it, but there's nothing additional to it. So now I can solve it twice. I could do negative 5b plus 5 equals 35, the positive value. Or I can do negative 5b plus 5 equals negative 35. Because both of these solutions give me an absolute value of 35. Then I subtract 5. And I get negative 5b equals 30. And I divide by negative 5. B equals negative 6. Did I do that right? Yeah. Or B could equal negative 40 divided by negative 5. B could equal positive 8. You may see answers when you have these that they're written in brackets. Have you ever seen those before? They're showing you that that's the set. You may even see this written in like, it's not an ordered pair because these aren't parentheses, right? They're the brackets, they're the grouping brackets. This is perfect. Let's try another one. How about the absolute value of 5a minus 6 minus 7 equals 49? The absolute value of 5a minus 6, that's the absolute value part, minus 7 equals 49. Before I start solving this twice, I have to isolate, correct? Yeah. This problem needs some isolation. So I'm left with 5a minus 6, that absolute value, equals 56. And then I can solve it twice. I'm going to solve it over here. 5a minus 6 equals positive 56. And 5a minus 6 equals negative 56. Add 6, add 6. 62. Uh-oh. Divide by 5, divide by 5. 12, remainder 2.4. Yeah. I'm the smartest human ever.
That's funny. But you said your husband.
He is pretty smart. Doesn't mean he's smarter than me.
Can you do what he does?
I don't want to. But he can't do what I do.
But you'd rather teach us?
Negative 10. Are we right? Are we matching?
Yes.
One more. Just to get the practice. Absolute value. 3x minus 4. Ooh, with a 2 in front. Equals 30. So we have to isolate the variable, or isolate the absolute value. What do I need to move?
The 2.
What operation is the 2 performing? So how do I move it? Division. I'm going to divide by 2. And divide by 2. So I'm left with the absolute value of 3x minus 4 equals 15. And I want to replace this guy in here with either positive 15 or negative 15, correct? So that's why I have to solve it twice. 3x minus 4 equals 15, and 3x minus 4 equals negative 15. Plus 4, 3x equals 19, divide by 3, x equals 6 and 1/3, or 6.3 repeating. Right?
Yep.
18, 3 times 8, or yeah, 3 times 6 is 18, 19 minus 18 is 1, so that's my remainder. Or over here, plus 4, oh, this one's gonna not be as beautiful. 3x equals negative 11, divide by 3, x equals negative, no, that's not right. Negative 3 makes 9 and 2/3, or negative 3.6 repeating.
You said that. It's not repeating.
It is repeating. The calculator for that one, because it ends in a 7, your calculator rounds out to that last value.
Yeah, like
So you always have to drop that last digit inside. Good question.